Currier. I show at the Blue Rain Gallery, and I'm hard at work on a new series, Troubadours, Musica, Mágica, which will be presented at Blue Rain with an opening reception Friday, June 30th, 5 to 7. I've been thinking about this new work, and one of the impetus behind this series is my lifelong love of music. Since I was a little girl, like many members of my family played piano, and we'd do these recitals together. My grandfather and my great aunt taught me to play, and growing up I was always good friends with musicians. I would do the band flyers in high school. And then in my adult life, I always play music when I'm working. I was looking at my sketchbooks and travel journals the other day and realized how many drawings there are of people playing music, singing music, dancing to music. I've been thinking a lot about how that has entered into my work and inspired my work over the years, and how I have really tried to capture in my drawings that moment of the magic of live music, that really ephemeral moment that it's just purely present for the artists themselves, but also the listeners. It's like this magic of connection, and everyone is in sync, and it's so fleeting, and I've tried to capture that with drawings. But I think what is kind of exciting about this new work is that attempting to translate that to a large-scale panel, like that moment of creative inception when someone is bringing forth their voice, like my portrait of Sophie or Lhasa de Sela, or crafting a song like with Valerie June or David Bowie. Another dimension of the work, it's poetry. And for any of you who followed my work these past few years, you'll notice that it's been a big concern and inspiration for me. The subjects who have this deeper sense of inquiry, that it's not about fame and glory and fortune, their creative work or their passion, but rather some deeper metaphysical concern and curiosity and spiritual. I think that a lot of the subjects in my new series reflect that, and also transforming angst and suffering into something of beauty, into creative work. These are just people who are always striving to evolve and transform and take both the physical and emotional and kind of institutional suffering of the world, and with their passion parlay that into transcendence, a poetic transcendence. And finally, in this new series, you'll see that all of these concerns, the pathos and passion, poetry, my love of music, and also movement, but all of that is converging into the new work. You'll see also how, there's a large-scale piece on women practicing martial arts, and how I see that fitting into all this is that it's kind of like the music of movement. I've been increasingly dedicated and committed to my own practice of dance, and that's very much reflected in the new work also. Troubadours, Musica, Mágica. Soulfulness is open to the world if they're willing to dig deep inside of the dark precincts of their soul and allow that voice, not just an echo, to come forward. A quote by Dr. Brother Cornel West. A mere mention of the word troubadour conjures up a myriad of images and ideas in the collective imagination. Buskers and bards from a millennia past, nomadic poets, love-struck Romeos belting out serenades beneath balconies, chivalrous knights, guitar-wielding hitchhikers. The tradition of the troubadour is that of a wandering storyteller, a poet who transposes tales of love and adventure to music. The etymology of the word derives from Occitan, meaning to compose. Troubadours historically referred specifically to the 11th and 12th century traveling poets who composed and performed complex verses about chivalrous love. However, as words often do, the term troubadour has taken on a life of its own, and I use it freely with artistic license here. For me, a troubadour is not solely a poet nor solely a musician, and is not simply one who entertains but composes, and further brings forth this creative work into the world to inspire. A troubadour is one who cannot be easily categorized or defined. One such example is Dr. Brother Cornel West. Questlove writes, "Many years ago, before he was a familiar presence on television, film, and radio, before he dropped his Reader in 1999, a decade-spanning collection of this passionate, polymathic essays was recognized rightly as one of the most dynamic public intellectuals in America. Some people couldn't get a grip on Cornel West. What are you, they asked me, West says now, and I'd go, I'm a jazz man in the life of the minds. I'm a blues man in the world of ideas. I'm a participant." West elaborates, "I always felt called to serve, to empower and ennoble as many people as I could, teaching, truth-telling, exposing lies, bearing witness, and being willing to live and die for something bigger than yourself. I had a passion and love of learning and wisdom that was inseparable from a love of music and the arts. I've never viewed them in any way as being separable. I've always loved to read, but I've always also loved to dance." West has literally put his message to page, to verse, to rap, to oratory, and taken it all over the world. His is a message of love. Other subjects I have chosen to portray are embodiments of the traditional singer-songwriter dimension of the troubadour. Lhasa de Sela, Valerie June, Emahoy Teague Maryam Guebrou, Sophie de Buenos Aires, Tom Waits. Lhasa de Sela lived an uncompromising and romantic life since her inception. Born into a lineage of nomadic musicians, she grew up with her parents and siblings in a school bus that crisscrossed Mexico, the US, and Canada. As a young child, she joined a circus troupe in France with her sisters and traveled Europe performing in the circus, writing ballads, and singing in bars. She wove together troubadour music from multiple continents, gypsy music and flamenco, Mexican rancheras, Americana, blues, jazz, Portuguese fados, Russian lullabies, South American folk music. She sang in Spanish, English, and French. In the words of Fred Goodman, Lhasa saw the world as imbued with magic and romance and cosmic design, a dramatic and poetic outlook she expressed with wit and lyricism, and one who had been urged from an early age to treat life as an adventure. He goes on to write, as her music attests, she felt life intensely and was both enraptured by the mystery and deeply bruised by the realities of love. The sublime, poignant, and unique creative work put forth during her all too brief life continues to inspire listeners all over the world. While the above-mentioned troubadours, West and the musicians, compose and express poetry and love through writing, oral storytelling, discourse, song, and musical composition, other subjects I've chosen to include, such as Bakwa and Mike Tyson, create and share physical stories through movement, i.e. Chinese martial arts and boxing. These traditions, like that of the troubadour, are rich with allegorical allusions, travel, adventure, humility, and love. The champion of the world, Mike Tyson, from childhood embarked on a journey to overcome grief, loss, poverty, crime, through unparalleled physical discipline and practice. eventually leading to spiritual inquiry. For Tyson, man is not meant to be humble, he is meant to be humbled. His journey continues as he experiments with altered states of consciousness, shares his inspiring stories of triumphs and tribulations, and lends voice to other storytellers through his journalistic interviews. On the surface, my new body of works may appear more eclectic than ever. While some of the works compositionally are representative of classic portraiture, others are engaged in movement and action. In some cases, they are even captured in the moment of creative inception. The subjects are of various generations, eras, nationalities, ethnicities, cultures, religions, and genders. Yet what binds them all together like songlines are that, for me, they are troubadours in the truest sense, moving brightly through the continuum with insatiable curiosity, courage, a deep devotion to spiritual awakening, a veneration of creativity, and a generosity of spirit that is compelled to inspire.